Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody is doing great. So, the past, I was gonna say the past few weeks, but if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, it's probably been the past several months where I have just been feeling just emotionally and mentally exhausted. Um, I have a friend of mine, and I was telling him that, and I was just kind of explaining to him how I was feeling, and his response was like, wow. He's like, if you're saying that, I know you really are in this space where, you got to make sure you make some time for you and whatnot. And I knew what he was saying because, I am like, get up in the morning and I'm off and running. It's just me and my daughter and, single momming it and working and trying to, get business going. So life never stops. And I don't say that as I'm the only one dealing with stuff. I'm saying that to share, to empathize with you, because I know much is the same probably in your life, right? And there's family obligations, there's school, there's work, there's so many, and it can cause us to feel beyond overwhelmed, right? And again, I'm a huge advocate for therapy and counseling, which I do regularly, and have needed it more over the past several months because of many other things that I've shared before in videos. But I'm sharing that for a reason, because when you get to this point where you start to feel overwhelmed and you start to feel like it's just too much, we're often told, right, that hey, it's not selfish to put yourself first, right? And I believe that. I get the concept of that 100%. I totally support that, right? And that's the rhetoric that we often, and then we got to be reminded it's not selfish to put yourself first, right? And so I'm running with that because it has a little bit to do with my topic today, where I've entitled it I and Me Before You. Okay. But I'm not talking about the whole, be selfless and, it's okay to be selfish sometimes. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about I and me before you, in the sense that we, as every single person walking around, we have got to do a better job of pointing that finger that we often point at everybody else, and pointing it at ourselves, and looking at ourselves and taking ownership for more than we often do. So let me explain. Within this past week, I did a presentation business wise, and it had to do with respect in the workplace. I did a webinar on that presentation, and I was so excited to do this presentation because I just felt like there's so much that from my background, there's just so much I had to share. And I just kept thinking, man, I wish I had more of a platform to not just share this with one organization, but to share with so many, because I think it's needed. And work, respect and home life, and they often overlapped. And we asked the question, if there's times where people felt disrespected at work, but also at home, and it was like 92% of the people in the webinar said yes. And so one of the things that I shared with them was respect is the final outcome, but in order to get to respect, we got to go back a little bit and talk about this concept of civility. Civility, in essence, is really just kindness, being polite to one another, having some civil discord, not just, being rude and obnoxious and, aggressive and angry and all of those things, right? And that has to happen before we get to respect, right? And let me tell you, we are living in a time, I'm preaching to the choir because you guys already know, we are living in a time where we've lost, any kind of civilness with one another, it's just out the window. It's gone. I don't even want to say we're on our way. It's gone, right? To see, the way we as people interact with each other. This is not a scientific test, okay? Let me just give you that disclaimer. But one of the ways that I can tell that we are so uncivil with one another is the way people honk at each other, either when they get cut off accidentally, or if they don't go on green when the light turns green, when there's a red light and it turns green, and then somebody maybe, they're distracted or whatever. I can remember a time, like I can even remember being kind of young and being in my parents' car, and, and like, something happened, and it was just kind of like a beep, beep, you just kind of get the person's attention just so they can go, and the person waved, oh, sorry, and then they're off and running. we've all of us have accidentally cut somebody off in traffic, every single one of us, right? And the grace that we give ourselves, we don't give to other people, right? Let's just be completely honest. When somebody cuts us off, we can call them every name in the book in our head, maybe out loud if that's how you are. But I say that kind of jokingly, but it's so true. It's like people are laying on that horn so hard, over something that, somebody just, they're barely getting their foot off. And, how about just a quick beep beep, just to, get somebody's attention. And again, that's not a scientific way to tell. There's so many bigger ways that we can tell that people are just being so uncivil and disrespectful to one another. So how do we fix it? Whenever I do a presentation, I love to give practical ways that people can actually implement something in their life and not just give this overall big, like, here's 10, 50 academic research based things. Good luck. No, I like to give practical things to individuals. And so this ties in for me when I talk a lot about somebody living in their purpose, because here's the thing. If you want to be a person who lives in your purpose, I like to think most people would, but I think people say it, but to actually do the work to actually get there, I think that's where the disconnect happens a lot of times. If you want to live in your purpose, there has to be a part of you that really stops worrying what everybody else thinks and their opinions. And, it's always good to have a select few that you can bounce things off of, but you really got to get to a point where you just stop worrying about what everybody else thinks. If you believe in your heart of hearts and you know that you are on the path and there's a component of it that is going to help other people and serve other people for good, why are we so caught up on, what other people think? And so I'm going to use myself as an example. I know 100% I am in the realm of living in my purpose. And there's a huge part of it that involves helping others, mentoring, teaching, and all of those other things. The more I stepped into that and the more that I uncovered it, the less I really cared what other people think, because it felt so good to go to a job that I absolutely loved, or to help my students, or to mentor, or all of those things. It was good for them and it was good for me. And I say it all the time. I love what I do, and my business is kind of a spinoff of that as well, and hopefully bringing good information to other people. So the more and more I stepped into it, the less I cared, and I'm not even saying that because it sounds good. Like, really, you stop caring, because I knew that I was doing what I was meant to do. And it's just the best feeling ever. The second part of that, I had to start taking ownership for my feelings, my behaviors, my attitude, and my thoughts. I often share it. I haven't talked about it in a while because, quite frankly, I feel like I've done a great job of healing from my divorce and, all that came with that. But I'll be honest with you, there was a time period, and every now and again it pops up, but, when my ex-husband decided to marry his coworker slash employee person, or whatever. That's kind of how I feel about it right now. There was so much about it that I just was hard to deal with. And over time, through therapy, through counseling, through prayer, through faith, and all of those things, I felt myself healing, and the less it bothered me. And I got to a point, and I remember just saying, like, I can't keep, like, as much as I want to blame, him, them, and how much I don't like, this person, having to be around my daughter, as much as I don't like that, I can't do a thing in this world to change it. So Favor, Professor Campbell, mom, my name's, I can make a choice and decide I'm going to keep allowing those things, and I'm going to sit with it and, allow that to, affect me and living in my purpose. Or I can say, you know what, I'm going to make a choice to not allow that to be a negative spot, and to allow bitterness to take root and all of these things. And so in essence, I had to stop blaming other people. I had to stop pointing the finger. I had to stop, and that, pity parties are fine in small doses. But at the end of the day, we got to take responsibility. So let me put a bow on this and wrap this up, because I'm already at 10 minutes. If we want to change the overall tone of society, if we want people to be nicer, if we want people to be, more courteous, if we want to stop finding ourselves in these situations where it's just combative and conflict ridden and all of that, we got to change ourselves first. I and me have to come before you, meaning I have to say, you know what? No matter if that person is rude, ugly, obnoxious, or whatever, I'm not going to allow them to change who I am as a person. I'm not going to allow that ugly, that ugliness to seep into me, because a lot of times people get to the point where they're like, you're rude to me, I'm going to be rude back to you. That's fine if you want to choose that. If that's the route you want to go, just know that is going to impede you getting to your overall purpose, because you can't live this positive, purposeful life and also try to get the last word in. It's just not going to happen. This is not about letting people run over you. This is not about like just letting people say whatever. There's a difference between standing up to somebody and speaking your mind and just, being tit for tat, right? So at the end of the day, if we want to get better about being more civil, we can't keep constantly saying those people and they need to fix it and them and this. We can't do that. We have to start with us. We have to start with I, and we have to start with me, and we got to fix that. And I promise you, just like the negativity will spread, guess what will happen with the positivity? Same exact thing. So I hope this helps somebody. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Stay warm, because I think it's cold everywhere. Stay warm. Have a wonderful week or weekend, and I'll see y'all on the next video.